Welcome to Motivation at Hand, Ma. To know is to know how. Make your foot the foot that counts. In lands where voices yearn to be heard, self-determination rises, a sovereign word. From nations' heartbeats resolves to people's plight. Yet often overshadowed an historical fight. Boundaries drawn by power's hand oft neglect the soul of the land. Yet hope persists, dreams remain tight. In shadows cast are at their height. Freedom's call, a siren song. Yet chains do hold the weak by the strong. Facts and current situation, location and size. The Gaza Strip is a 25-mile stretch along the Mediterranean Sea, nestled between Israel and Egypt. It covers an area of 139 square miles, which is just over twice the size of Washington, D.C. Its border with Israel spans 36 miles, and with Egypt, it's about 8 miles. Although the Strip has about 24 miles of coastline, the Israeli Navy has blocked it since 2009, preventing any maritime traffic. Gaza's population. The territory is among the world's most densely populated regions, housing over 2 million inhabitants. A striking 40% of its residents are under 14. Gaza faces severe issues, including high unemployment, limited electricity, often available only for half the day, and inadequate access to clean water, as reported by the Israeli organization, Jaisha. Residents often describe Gaza as an open-air prison due to the Israeli blockade, which has worsened conditions over the years. Current situation. As the conflict escalates, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. He has commanded a total blockade of Gaza, promising that no fuel, electricity, or food provisions will be permitted to enter or leave. Palestinian journalist Hassan Jaber told CBS News that there is not a lot of access to bomb shelters to protect civilians from the aerial strikes. There is no safe place in Gaza, he said. The dense population and lack of bunkers mean there's hardly any refuge from aerial strikes. Hamas, considered a terrorist organization by the U.S., has controlled Gaza since 2007. The recent eruption in violence saw Hamas militants breach the Israel-Gaza border, resulting in the death of over 1,200 Israelis, mostly civilians. In retaliation, Israeli airstrikes killed at least 900 Gazans. History. Gaza has a rich history, especially post-1948 when Israel was established, and many Palestinians were relocated to the Strip. Israel took control of Gaza in 1967 after the Six-Day-War. An intense period of conflict occurred during the Palestinian uprising in 2000. Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005, removing its military and Jewish settlers. Shortly after, Hamas emerged victorious against the Palestinian Authority in elections and took control in 2007. In response of settlements constantly being built by the taking of Palestinians' homes, Hamas have frequently clashed with Israel by using drones, rockets, and ground operations, leading to multiple Israeli military campaigns in Gaza. The Israel-Palestine conflict has seen the tragic loss of tens of thousands of Palestinians who have been displaced by the millions. Tracing back over a century, its origins lie in Britain's colonial land policies in Palestine 1917 to 1936, the Balfour Declaration in 1917, then Foreign Secretary. This has prompted major military response from Israel, impacting both the Israeli and Palestinian civilian populations. The current turmoil has deep historical roots. Balfour Declaration in 1917, Arthur Balfour, Britain's then Foreign Secretary, issued a declaration promising the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This changed the landscape of Palestine, as British authorities permitted a massive influx of Jewish immigrants, alarming the indigenous Palestinian population. Arab Revolt 1936–1939. Amid escalating tensions, the Palestinian Arabs rebelled against British colonial rule and the increasing Jewish immigration. This revolt was met with severe repression from the British authorities. UN partition in 1947. The United Nations proposed partitioning Palestine into Jewish and Arab states. This proposal was met with resistance, especially since a significant portion of the land was assigned to the Jewish state despite them owning a small fraction of it. 20th century conflict. Gaza's situation. Following the death of PLO leader Yasser Arafat and the subsequent civil unrest, Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip. Israel responded with a blockade in 2007, citing security concerns. Gaza wars. Israel has launched several military operations in the Gaza Strip. The sieges have taken numerous lives and severely impacted the infrastructure of Gaza. Gaza Strip's geography and demography. The Gaza Strip is a densely populated territory. With conditions steadily deteriorating, the region often gets referred to as an open-air prison. The majority of its population is reliant on humanitarian aid, and restrictions from Israel limit mobility and resources. Recently, attention has turned to the Gaza Strip after an attack by the Palestinian group, Hamas. Statements from key figures. UN Secretary-General addresses Israel-Palestine conflict, October 9, 2023. The United Nations, UN Headquarters, New York City. The Israel-Palestine conflict, with a 56-year-long occupation, is marked by long-standing tensions and has been a focal point for international diplomacy and peace efforts. Key events and statements from UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres. Guterres acknowledged the unprecedented developments in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territory. Condemnation of attacks. I begin by repeating my utter condemnation of the abhorrent attacks by Hamas and others against Israeli towns and villages in the Gaza periphery, which have left over 800 Israelis dead and more than 2,500 injured. The attacks continue and many individuals remain unaccounted for. Over 100 Israelis and Americans are among the hostages. Both civilians and military personnel have reportedly been captured by armed groups. Some remain hostage within Israel, while others have been taken to the Gaza Strip. Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad have launched thousands of rockets, some reaching as far as central Israel, including Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Stance on terrorism. Recognizing the legitimate grievances of the Palestinian people, Guterres stated, but nothing can justify these acts of terror and the killing, maiming and abduction of civilians. He called for an immediate cessation of attacks and the release of all hostages. Israeli airstrikes have resulted in the reported deaths of over 500 Palestinians in Gaza, including women and children, and injuring more than 3,000. These numbers are on the rise as Israeli operations continue. While acknowledging Israel's security concerns, Guterres emphasized the importance of adhering to international humanitarian law. He stressed the necessity to respect and protect civilians and ensure that civilian infrastructure is never targeted. He, also, highlighted reports of Israeli missile attacks on health facilities in Gaza, residential towers, a mosque, and 2 schools run by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, for Palestine refugees. Guterres expressed deep concern regarding the humanitarian conditions in Gaza, especially with Israel's announcement of a full siege. He highlighted the worsening conditions and urged all involved parties to allow the UN to deliver urgent humanitarian assistance to trapped Palestinian civilians in Gaza. The Secretary-General underscored that the recent violence is part of a broader, long-standing conflict and called for an end to the vicious cycle of bloodshed, hatred and polarization. Emphasizing the vision of a two-state solution, Guterres stated, "Israel must see its legitimate needs for security materialized, and Palestinians must see a clear perspective for the establishment of their own state realized." Guterres appealed to both parties to work towards a negotiated peace that aligns with UN resolutions, international law, and previous agreements, emphasizing that only such a solution can bring lasting stability to the region. In battles waged on distant shores, profits' echo grows and soars. Weapons dealt, industries expand. Yet, it's blood that stains the war-torn land. The puppeteer behind the scene counts the gold, remains unseen. While soldiers fight, families grieve. Who truly gains, as others bleed? Much appreciation to you for giving of your time with us at Motivation at Hand. To know is to know how. We trust you will come back soon.